VHS movies are well known for doing what they do exceptionally well, crafting a hey that's f***ed up ride of horror, mayhem, and madness, gushing with blood, guts, and just plain all around. And though these movies far from require any kind of deeper reading for optimal enjoyment, this wouldn't exactly be another pretentious YouTube film analysis video if I didn't at least attempt, right? Well, this isn't just another pretentious YouTube film analysis video. It's a pretentious YouTube Halloween special film analysis video. So let's talk about VHS Halloween and how this movie kinda rudely calls out weird people like us who love the Halloween holiday so much, and really makes it seem like we may need to talk to someone or something. But first...
It looks like a dong.
VHS Halloween follows the Octagon Corporation as they test their new soda to make sure it's really fine, okay, and approved for child consumption, also known as the RFK Jr. approval process. But it turns out the formula causes just the slightest splash of autism. So the Octagon Corp makes the ethical choice to market their product towards autistic children.
It's scary how good it tastes.
But now it's time to follow Kaylee and Lacey, whose desires to be made into forever babies for Halloween is misunderstood by the Milk Mommy Fairy, who turns them into her own personal child leash babies without the leash instead. But that's not cool, so we follow a plucky young fella who the authorities believe is hiding something, which they're eventually horrified to find. It's just the fact that he prefers to swallow before he spits. But that's disgusting, so we follow a group of millennial-sized children who don't want to just take one treat. So they're forced to take it up with the Trix Rabbit's testicle with a body, who takes it off with their balls.
I got his balls!
But no worries, because their balls can still be packaged and sold.
I think these are his balls!
But that's just sad, so we follow Bruce Dittman, who doesn't want to face the reality of growing up. So he wears children's faces instead, which is actually a really unhealthy way of dealing with his situation.
I know from experience, dude.
Which all leads to following Keith, whose one wish for his Halloween decorations to really come to life this year magically comes true, teaching him the valuable lesson of child murder. So when you think of Halloween, what's the first thing that comes to mind? I'll give you a hint. You used to trick on the streets for it as a child. That's right. Candy. Which is why VHS Halloween's connecting segment, Diet Phantasma, is my favorite segment, because it touches on the very heart of why we've all been so in love with candy since childhood. Addiction. Just kidding. Addiction and corporate consumerism. And what is a corporation if not an entity with the sole purpose of keeping people alive just long enough to want more of their shit before it kills them? Or gives them diabetes. Or makes them explode. If you've seen the all-time holiday classic Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, you probably noticed the Octagon Company in Diet Phantasma takes inspiration from the Silver Shamrock Corporation, whose CEO is all about making kids wear his stupid masks while watching his stupid TV commercial on Halloween night until it literally rots their stupid brains. And a return to this kind of corporate horror absurdism feels right at home in a 2025 Halloween-themed movie. For some reason. But while corporations might like to infuse their sugar bomb yummies with shady ingredients that probably shouldn't be ingested into the human body under any circumstances, VHS Halloween also harkens to the even more awesomer movie in the Halloween series, also known as the definitive Halloween movie, also known as the best movie ever made in the history of movies, John Carpenter's Halloween. And if we're talking Big JC's Halloween on this channel, you know we're inevitably talking about its most interesting, deeper meaning of all, which is, that's right, the abstract horror of leaving childhood behind for adulthood.
Stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen.
I mean, how could we not when almost all of VHS Halloween segments transmit this theme directly into our wannabe innocent brains?
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it!
However, instead of exploring the loss of innocence through the idea of having pump and slump on Halloween night, this movie explores the clinging to innocence through the concept of the Halloween holiday itself. Take my favorite segment in VHS Halloween, for example, Coochie Coochie Coo, which opens on our newly adult protagonists wearing their creepy baby mask, which kinda sets up the overall idea of this segment. Creepy ass grown babies stuck in one place. Because Lacey and Kaylee are using this Halloween night as an escape from the bring down bummer fact that they're graduating high school shifting into adulthood, and will soon take their separate paths. Paths that will only bring them closer to
Sagging.
Yeah, well, like it or not, it's the truth, okay?
But for this one last hurrah at least, they refuse to accept that the carefree childhood fun of trick-or-treating on Halloween together is over and it's time to move on. Time to grow up. Their encounter with Mommy is like an abstract representation of what they fear in more ways than one. Mommy herself is a grotesque manifestation of what Lacey expresses anxiety over right at the start, being weighed down in the confines of a home by not just 2, but 6 sagging milkmakers, with no real purpose beyond nurturing her mindless babies and just existing, but also not really existing at all. Or we can see our protagonist's fears expressed through the captured babies they encounter and eventually become themselves. These adult babies stuck in one place, stuck in a perpetual womb of innocence. No agency or independence or ability to evolve or change in any way. It's their fear of growing up turned in the exact opposite direction, turned into the fear of never being allowed to grow up. Their Halloween wish fulfilled in the most horrifying way imaginable. Of course, all these heartwarming ideas have a lot in common with my favorite segment of the bunch, fun size. There's a kinda weird, kinda funny, kinda uncomfortable surrealism in this one, even before all the surrealistic horror mayhem begins. Much like Coochie Coochie Coo, Fun Size takes place in a world where trick-or-treating as adults is a hellishly punishable offense.
Is your girl a little too old for this?
Aren't you a little old to be trick-or-treating?
This group of adult wannabe children leave their adult Halloween party because there wasn't any candy, so they take to the neighborhoods to get their favorite corporate candy fix. And this notion of taking more than one treat, more than the rules say you're permitted to take, which we also saw in Coochie Coochie Coo,
Take them all.
feels like an expression of returning to the well of innocence to try and take more from it than you're permitted. Because there's no going backwards on the game board of life. And trying to cheat those rules will have you answering to the most f***ed up Chuck E. Cheese mascots ever. Lauren can't bring herself to do the difficult but mature action of breaking up with Josh, a kind of avoidance of responsibility. And since responsibility comes with being an adult, adulting is a track she'd rather not be on.
You need to do it fast and quick, or your life's gonna end up on the wrong track.
That is, until she ends up forced on that track beyond her will. Fun Size's world of childish mayhem feels like the Backrooms in a lot of ways, a kind of abandoned warehouse of the past, an empty liminal space left behind by time that's easy to romanticize when you're not stuck in it with no escape. The characters are forced to play in this perverted, demented, Lynchian sandbox of fun and hell. The chopping machine poor Austin and Haley find themselves sucked into feels like a machine invented by the sheer randomness of a child's creativity, mixed with the architectural design of anything but childish innocence. The overall idea being, be careful with that yearning to avoid forward momentum, because soon the joke will be on you, and you'll be cut to pieces and made into chocolate penis bonanza on a conveyor belt.
Hey, these are good. Yeah, I love your salted chocolate.
Speaking of which, my favorite segment, Kidprint, aims to make you vomit up those artisan-crafted family jewels in the nastiest way possible, by digging into our most innocence-corrupting collective fear of all, child abduction. Wait, am I even allowed to say child abduction? The highly disturbing nature of this one is only made all the more disturbing by the fact that kidprints were an actual thing in the early 90s. Yes, it was a time of satanic panic and 24-hour news cycles that figured out scaring the shit out of people by over-focusing on the worst of humanity was a great way to keep viewers watching long before algorithms perfected that science. As real-life disturbing child abductions spread fear in suburban living room screens all across America, parents took to their local video and electronics stores to record and interview their children should the police need such evidence in the event their child went missing. It was a way of trying to take control in the face of the horrifying idea spreading that everyone outside of your family and friends bubble is scheming to kidnap and do terrible things to your child. When in reality, the people most likely to commit such heinous acts tend to be part of the child's family and friends bubble already anyway. How interesting then that old friendly, smiling, and unsuspecting Bruce is the elusive killer of this here short story. Because these video surveillance recordings, meant to act as a tool for protection, are the very thing Bruce uses to choose, identify, and locate all his young victims. And there's something about this early 90s set story that feels grotesquely reflective of the present. The idea of technology being used to help us, protect us from the evil. Instead, it's the very thing that attracts the evil, directs it.
Don't you feel safe with this on?
I'm not sure.
The title Kidprint can allude to quite a few things in this segment, the least of which being the fact that Bruce takes the faces of these kids, their identities being captured and plastered onto these screens, and mutilates them, peels them off and wears them, imprints them onto his own face, which I can't help but see as yet another haunting mode of expression of the technological notion I just babbled about. But all discussing Bruce himself also has a childlike innocence in his mannerisms and demeanor, connecting us back to that interconnecting theme of Halloween-obsessed adult children. It's strongly hinted that Bruce is as deranged as he is because of something that happened to him during his first time trick-or-treating alone as a child.
Lucy, are you going to be safe while you're trick-or-treating?
Makes you think back to your own childhood.
I'm not going to talk to strangers.
Maybe it was something in his past.
I'm not going to go anywhere with...
And given the context, it seems likely he was taken and abused himself on that Halloween night all those years ago, and now continues the sadistic cycle of trauma as an adult. Bruce the Goof is yet another character in this anthology stuck in the past, stuck in a childhood memory of Halloween that's been forever imprinted onto him. And it feels extra safe to say it's corrupted him for the absolute worst. Speaking of which, Bruce from Kidprint and Keith from Home Haunt, which is easily my favorite segment of VHS Halloween, have a lot in common. Okay, maybe they don't have that much in common, but they definitely both experience a sort of youthful rejuvenation from the spirit of Halloween. In Keith's case, it's clear that he A, loves Halloween, and B, really enjoyed reliving his own childhood love for Halloween through his young son Zach's eyes. But now that Keith's an even older adult, and Zach's grown into a pissed off teenager, Keith's trying to recreate the memory of his son's love for Halloween, which itself was a recapturing of his own love for Halloween as a kid. So here we have a man-child Halloween fantasy with several layers to it. But who could blame our guy Keith when being a serious adult means becoming a jaded, cynical, over this Halloween bullshit white wizard?
I wouldn't worry about it, this shit always looks fake.
Chill out, Rich.
Zach growing up means losing that link to both their childhoods forever. So Keith does what all the grown Halloween lovers in this movie do. Breaks the rules to take more from the spirit of Halloween than is permitted. As a result, he unknowingly brings his favorite holiday to life in a much more literal way than he intended.
She's alive, Igor! She's alive!
And I can't help but see a kind of meta-reflection in this and the entire movie, because escaping into the fun of horror and Halloween, as so many of us love to do, is to some extent at least a way of escaping back to childhood, back to a time when the holiday horrors felt all the more visceral, where the fantastical darkness was more alive and real than ever, because just as well, the opposing possibility of hope and good was just as alive and real.
I'm a vampire, and I'm gonna be a clown.
VHS Halloween takes us through the most f***ed up versions of Neverland imaginable, almost as if it's saying, have your Halloween horror fun, but be careful not to lean too hard into it, not to dig too deep into that addicting bowl of escapism. Because right now, as the world seems to be moving toward an increasingly more hopeless, corporate-run future, where the promises sold to previous generations have been twisted and mangled into absurdities to the nth degree, what could be more hopelessly horrifying than that holiday darkness we find so comforting to escape into, getting violently, obscenely turned back on us? Oh yeah, and I guess we didn't talk about Supra Sic Infra. This was actually my number one favorite segment, but it's the outlier of the bunch in that it doesn't really thematically connect with all the rest, at least not in any way that stood out to me. I guess there is something to the idea of, wanting to know the horrors that happened behind closed doors that you didn't witness yourself, and then having that horror like come to life and turn onto you, that like the desire of wanting to see and then having your eyes taken out. I don't know, that's just off the top of my head. You guys can let me know if you think I missed anything there though. Anyway, I love a good disgusting eye socket plucking as much as the next man-child horror YouTuber, so yeah, 2 big thumbs up.
Moving up and down again.
Ride, 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 ride.